All right, we're going to put what we learnt about straight lines into an everyday problem. And we talk about the dependent and the independent variable. And basically, the dependent variable is the one we depend on. People have trouble and really confuse themselves, so we might have to remember that the independent variable is the x and y depends on it, so that's the dependent variable. Or independent, dependent, x, y. Now it's not always x, y. This time it's the number of guests and the cost. So which is the dependent variable? The cost depends on the number of guests. Okay, I'll read the question as well. Jessica has organised an 18th birthday party. The total costing includes $300 for hire of the function room, $220 for music, and $23 per person. Table shows the cost different. Right. So it says which is the variable that's dependent. So I said cost was dependent on number of guests. Write the linear function. So it's saying find y equals mx plus b. And instead of putting y, put c. And instead of putting x, put n. So this is a revision of what we did before. We have to find the gradient. It's gone up 15. And the difference here is 1325 minus 980, 345. So the gradient is 345 on 15, which will give me 23. I already know that sort of because it says $23 per person. Okay, so y is 23x plus b. Now I could sub in this point in like we did before, or I could use the question because it says the cost of the party is $300 for the hall and $220 for the music. So if no people arrive, they've still paid $520. That's what B is. B is the amount when no people come. So to stop algebra, you're better off understanding what the question's saying. B is when x is 0, or in this case, when n is 0, so no people come. Read the question, say how much is it going to cost me if no people come? So now I need to say C is y 23 times the number of people plus 520. If this function was graphed, which variable would be shown on the vertical axis? Vertical, dependent, cost. What does the vertical intercept represent? What does 520 represent? The cost with no people. And it will always be that. The y with no x. The y with no x. Always. Find the cost of the party where there's 80 guests. Well, the cost is 23 times the number of guests, which happens to be 80, plus 520. And I'll just do that on the calculator. 23 times 80 plus 520. $2,360.